Tigers and Guardians played game 4 of the ALCS. Unfortunately for the Tigers, it was actually Friday. It's a live edition of Locked On Guardians after a game 4 ALDS win. Game 5 coming up Saturday in Cleveland.
Tanner Bibee of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you pay your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
Guardians ran their game. David Fry was the runner. Brayan Rocchio was the runner. Who had those guys coming up in those spots? We'll talk about better be lucky than good. Guardians able to punch back in a wobbly game for the bullpen. Some unlikely heroes, and can they find a way in game 5? And we'll grab your comments. Feel free to jump in on the conversation. We'll get everybody involved. Thank you all for tuning in on a live edition, or if you're listening after we recorded this.
Yes, and I just want to say, I feel like this is an episode that's going to have a lot of people watching, so I'm sorry. Here are going to be the intros, as Hevinger asked. But I'm Jeff Ellis, one of your two co-hosts, one of the OG hosts when it came to Locked On. When they wanted a baseball person to talk, for some reason, they decided they wanted me. Before that, I was a nationally recognized on the John Stash Hour show for my draft analysis at Scout and 24/7, as well as, okay, according to CJ, first favorite blogger at every Cleveland sports blog that has.
Let's do it. Number 1. Jeff is number 1 in my heart. Sammy Sosa, number 1. I'm Justin Latta. I was a Guardians baseball insider as the editor-in-chief after Jeff was gone. Although, Jeff, you did some work for Indians baseball.
Yeah, I would always pop up with the draft.
Yeah,
if there was a draft, I was there.
Yeah, we worked together for a little bit. We were friends for a long time.
Yep.
And now I'm here co-hosting with you. I did see Brayan Rocchio in Lake County way back in 2021, back in the day off Keter Montero. He didn't do anything yesterday, but he came through today. Let's just start with David Fry, though. You and I were texting throughout that game. So I felt like Stephen Vogt went in the wrong direction. I thought he waited too long. I think it was like what's the opposite of a knee-jerk reaction? Like, it was a knee-jerk in the wrong direction, which your knee's not supposed to go
elbow
that
jerk?
Way.
Is that an
elbow? I don't know.
Jerk?
Like, we can agree. We didn't necessarily agree in game 3 about how he went about going to the bench. And I thought in this game, he waited a little too long. You ended up having Manzardo face a lefty. You ended up having Will Brennan face a lefty. And then you waited too long and you never got David Fry in against a lefty. So they brought him in when they did. Tyler Holton was already out of the game. And you knew Brant Herter wasn't pitching. And because he had gone too far on Wednesday. So they were only going to be able to go to Gunther. And Gunther came out right before Fry came up. So at that point, David Fry was never going to face a righty or a lefty, and you've already had to sacrifice, for some reason, Will Brennan against a lefty, and I guess they waited for Noel, which we'll get to later, and they let Manzardo hit against a lefty earlier. So I thought Vogt waited too long, and it turns out results over process in the postseason, right? Like, better to be lucky than good. Yeah. I'd rather look stupid than David Fry not doing anything against Bo Brisky there. You know, we've talked about all of David Fry's injuries, the struggles against the right-handers on yesterday's show. Didn't matter. I mean, again, you and I both believe process over results. I don't think it was a good process, but in the postseason, results matter. Process goes out the window once you get the result.
You know, it's one of those things, too. Like, you and I both are like, it's not the right call for different reasons. Like, for me, I was like, they should have gone to him when they went to Noel to assure it. And I was like, and Brisky is better than Gunter. So, you know, you do it. But, you know, it's one of those things that we were both wrong for different reasons. And that's what's hilarious about it. That is baseball. A lot of Tigers fans got very mad at me, called me arrogant and said I was not giving them enough credit yesterday. But it's one of those things that we saw today. Like, it's better to be lucky than good. Like, you know, they got lucky. Cleveland did in this one. After we talked about how, you know, there was some positive luck that really buoyed Detroit early on. When it's a super close series like this, luck is a big component. These are two well-matched teams. It's two of the best bullpens of baseball. I probably haven't given Detroit enough bullpen. You know, AJ Hinch, I will say again, and I said last time, is probably the best manager in baseball. And two offenses that both have their struggles. But when you go down to it, it's the little things. It's the luck that can separate. And in this game, when Torque got caught off a second, and I'm blanking on who hit that ball into that double play, like that was probably the point that that turned the game.
Which inning was that you were talking about?
When they scored the run and then got the double play. In
the second inning off Tanner?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Jake Rogers lined out to shortstop. And then
yes, it was Rogers. Yeah. Like that was an 800% batting average normally, right? Or an 800.
Yeah, it was an 800 expected batting average, which Fry had on Wednesday to the third baseman, and it didn't work out. So, yeah.
I'm a special ed teacher, Jacob. I don't give homework directly. So
yeah,
just bringing that up. So I not one of my students, I swear. I'll throw some box score bingo in at some point today, I'm sure.
All right, we'll get it in there. I didn't realize Cody Ray, a good comment. I did not realize David Fry was down 0-2 in the count. I kind of blanked out watching that at bat because I was like, this is not going to work. Like, there's no way David Fry is doing anything against Bo Brisky, and I didn't expect a home run. Didn't realize it was 0-2 either. That's just, even better. And then not only that, I mean, he ends up going with, and we were texting with a friend of the show, and he called it before it happened. He said, I would go with a bunt for David Fry, let Kwan steal, and if he misses the bunt, then see if they throw through and let Rocchio score if they throw through, which they probably wouldn't have. But David Fry gets the bunt down, Rocchio scores, and give credit to Rocchio, by the way, because he had a great game.
I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry. I was wrong. And he's showing
Brian's not a fast runner. He got down the line.
He's not.
Yeah. So give a ton of credit to Brayan Rocchio. He's been on base every game this series. He's worked walks. He's gotten hits. He just missed a home run in game 1. He has been unbelievable this series for them. Great defensively. There's been no.
He could be the MVP. Like if they win it, there's a world where he could be the MVP of the series.
I mean, there is no ALDS MVP, but if there was,
I'm used to in OOTP. They every single series they announce a who's the MVP.
Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah, to quote, this is a great whatever this comment is from Drastic. To quote you guys last year, random variance, and somebody got mad at me in the comments on Thursday show, was like, Justin, why do you say everything is random variance when something goes wrong? And we're talking about the playoffs, and I'm like, because the playoffs are a ton of random variance. Like you can do your best to load your roster up with guys that are good and get the matchups in your favor and get good players who come through. But there's still a bit of luck to it. And Jose Ramirez, I know we were talking about his postseason numbers. By the way, it's a home run today. Finally comes through against a lefty. He's been incredible right-handed this year, which is really weird.
And he owns Holton. Holton, he's like 4 for.
He just owns all lefties this year. If you go look at his numbers,
specifically, like he owns Holton in particular.
Yeah. So, there's just the reason I said that about Jose is that it was kind of random variance and hard to chalk up because, like I said, it's like 5 or 10 games a year chopped up over like 6 years of postseason results. I can't take anything. I can't combine those together to make up anything serious. Like they're all their individual chunks of random. That's why I said that. So, all right, Jeff, why don't you get the box score bingo in because we've got a zillion comments I want to throw up on here.
While I pull up I do got to point this out. I've seen this in a few places, and I agree with this. I think that about
Rocchio. That's a great comment, Alonzo. Yes,
and give
the player we hope he was a prospect. Solid defensively, working walks. His swings have been really good. There's been a couple balls he's chased, but every time Rocchio has chased in the series or he's gotten down in the count, he has worked his way back. Like he has not. I don't think I've seen an at bat from Rocchio in the series where he gets down 0-2 and he just like flails like a fish. He has been staying in at bats. His swings have been good. He's really matured in this series, and that's huge for the Guardians in the postseason and hopefully going forward.
Yeah, and then shout out to Aiden Morgan, who is a Rocchio truther. So for Cleveland on this one, they had 11 hits and only 1 walk. So that's 12 opportunities. And yeah, the only hit by pitch was on the other side. So that should only be about 4 runs. The other side was 9 hits and 4 walks, and then the intentional walks. So they had 14 opportunities. Detroit was closer to 5. So, Detroit actually had more opportunities in this one due to having, more walks in that situation. So again, it's, one of those things where we talk about luck, and you can make a very good case that some of these games, luck-wise, shifted one. And when you have two good teams that are evenly matched, and again, I apologize to Tigers fans. Like, I'm not saying you have a bad team. Just these two teams are so evenly matched that luck can be, the separator. And in this game, like, you look through it, it's like Cleveland probably shouldn't have won this one, but luck was on their side. Maybe in game 3 they should, or game 2 or 3 they should have won, but luck wasn't. So I think that's where it is right now. It's the box score of it. If I did the whole thing, Kwan, Thomas, reach base. I mean, everyone complaining about them doing nothing at the deadline. Like, how important has Lane Thomas been to this team? Like, can anyone out there still complain about anything that, like?
Yes, Lane Thomas. Yes, good.
He's
point.
Been huge. Like
that trade ended up being phenomenal. He had,
even if Clemmy turns into a solid starter, like what he has given them is unbelievable.
Yeah, Lane Thomas, after the first inning, they scored that run in the first inning. At that point, had scored 8 runs in the postseason, and 4 of them have come off the bat of Lane Thomas. So he had another hit later in the game. It's had a huge postseason for them. Absolutely. Expected batting average tonight, pretty even. It was 287 for the Guardians, 269 for the Tigers. This is just one of those games where the Guardians, they had a little bit better luck. Like I said, the David Fry lined out into an out on Wednesday in game 3, and he didn't get it. Jake Rogers hit the ball right to Brayan Rocchio for the double play there. He didn't get it. Essentially, that's almost the same play. I mean, Jimenez got robbed later in the game on that play. I think it was Colt Keith still there at second base at that point. That was a great play by Colt Keith.
No, I think that wasn't him when he dove to he was out. Like, wasn't it the 8th inning play?
No, Ibanez didn't. No, you're right. That must have been Ibanez at second.
Either way, Jace Young? Was it Jace Young at second?
No, Jace Young came in for Kerry Carpenter as a DH.
So he stayed DH.
Yeah, that was a great play by whoever was playing second base at that point for Detroit. I had to go back and look, but I know so
it was Ibanez. It was Ibanez.
We'll talk about Tanner Bibee. We'll talk about the bullpen. I said, Jeff, before the start of the series that Cleveland was going to have to find a way offensively to punch back because the bullpen was not going to be perfect all postseason, and they haven't been, right? Emmanuel Clase in game 2 gave up that big hit, and in this game, Cade Smith gave up some runners, and then Hunter Gaddis came in, and unfortunately one of them scored on an inherited runner, and then Emmanuel Clase, gave up a leadoff hit in the 9th inning there, and he's been asked to do a lot. They haven't been perfect.
A lot.
Yeah, and they've been able to punch back. That, to me, that's the most encouraging thing out of all the things this postseason that have happened. I mean, they're tied 2-2, so anything can happen in game 5. We'll talk about game 5. But to me, the biggest thing tonight was they scored runs after Cade Smith got touched up and Gaddis allowed the inherited run, and they put a run up on the board just to keep it, given the insurance and a Class A. So they were able to punch back later in the game. That's got to be incredibly big for their confidence to know that if they can get Tarik Skubal out of the game in game 5 at some point, they can do it for their offense. All right, this is a live show, but we still got to do our breaks. So we will stick with you guys. We're going to go a little bit longer since it's a live show and there's a lot of comments and a lot of viewers. So we'll make up for the breaks by staying with you extra long on this one. So please, guys, stick around. We'll take a bunch of comments. We'll have a bunch of fun. We'll talk about game 5 and a bunch of other stuff from game 4. With Robinhood Gold, you do not need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement bonus boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product-specific disclosures. Visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. I know our pal Sully is going to have us covered on Locked On MLB. He's going to talk about this Guardians win over there. I know he loves him some Guardians, even though Tito's not around anymore. I'm sure he'll be talking about Yankees Royals. So if you guys are looking for another perspective on all these playoffs, go please watch our pal Sully at Locked On MLB. He is a funny dude. always covering everything in baseball. He does not just cover the big markets. If you're looking at other podcasts, they're talking New York. They're talking Mets, Yankees. They're not talking Guardians, Tigers. Our pal Sully is talking Guardians. So go and check him out after you guys finish listening to this tonight or in the morning.
So it feels like our comments want to talk Bibee and Gaddis. So
okay, well, first, Guardians win their first elimination game since Game 6 of the '97 World Series. That's important. That's got to. I mean, these players obviously don't care about the history of it because they weren't here for that. But that's important, at least, as to feel better about doing an elimination game. All right, you want to start with Bibee or Gaddis here?
Let's start with Bibee. Like he didn't have it today. Like he had a hard time spotting it. He was working, but I saw someone in the chat talk about how box score bingo doesn't account for the fact that David Fry has that dog in him. I think if there's anyone who has that dog in him, it was Tanner. Like Tanner showed that. I mean, he battled through. He had 6 base runners in 4 innings, and you could just the heart on his sleeve with that home run. But he battled, and they needed depth. They needed, there was points where like, how long will he go with some of the, the command, but he just kept battling and he kept them off base. Well, not base, but kept them off balance is the word I was looking for, and did enough.
Yeah. I mean, the first inning, he couldn't throw a fastball for a strike. He kept having traffic on. They weren't hitting him. I mean, the only guy that really hit him, I think, was like Riley Green had a good hit off him. And then obviously, Zach McKinstry at the home run. And Zach McKinstry, for whatever reason, has had a really good success off of Tanner Bibee. So someone said, John, it took Tanner at the right time. If I'm being honest, I think I would have probably put Cade in at the start of the inning.
Yeah.
To face McKinstry, just because McKinstry has had his number for whatever reason. And, Tanner already, I will say, like the third and fourth inning, Tanner had gotten things going, right? He had started to look like he was settling in. So I understand putting him out in the 5th inning, and it was 7-8-9. But the rule about that is, like, just because a guy has looked good in the postseason doesn't mean they're not getting to him. So I don't think he had his best stuff today. Still got a fastball. The off-speed stuff was much better. But unfortunately, I think McKinstry wasn't his home run off of an off-speed pitch. It was a fastball. It was a fastball.
Yeah,
so Tanner's fastball, for whatever reason, today just was not his best location-wise. The secondary stuff was all pretty good, I thought. He got, some called strikes in the sliders. The changeups looked good. He flipped a couple curveballs in there, but only 3 called strikes in the fastball and 1 whiff. So the velocity was good. You don't have to worry about that. It was just, some command issue there. He did just enough, though. He gave the 2 runs. I know you'd like to see him hold him to less than that, but I think Tanner, I might have went to Cade to start the 5th just because of the earlier struggles and because of McKinstry's numbers against him. But it's 7-8-9. You give him a chance to go in there, and if you allowed McKinstry to get on and not a home run, you'd still take him out. But unfortunately, it ended up being a home run, and thank goodness it didn't matter. So the Hunter Gaddis thing, he went as far as he did because I think Cleveland realizes, They
didn't have a choice, and that changeup makes him, gives him a better chance against some of those lefties.
Yeah. It's just, I think they realized that, well, they had to somehow they had to bridge as far as they could to get to Class A. And I think they kind of realized Tim Herrin has just been very wobbly the last couple of days. Like, I don't know what you do with Tim Herrin in Game 5, because unless you can literally get him up there with we said this yesterday, right? We said, you want to use Herrin in a spot where there's 2 outs. He only has to face 1 batter, and it's one of their lefties, and you either make him face the lefty or you force that lefty out of the game. Sobrowski and Cantillo are going to have to pitch on Saturday at some point because, if Boyd starts, I think, Jeff, you're absolutely right. You've been saying this for a couple of days now. Throw as many lefties as you can out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't even know if
Carpenter's
going to be available on Saturday, but throw as many lefties as you can because they struggle with lefties, and you're going to start Boyd probably. And I just don't think you can trust Tim Herrin to give you as much as everybody else. And you've really leaned heavily on Cade Smith. You leaned very heavily on Hunter Gaddis. Gavin Williams too. You're going to have to use Gavin Williams and Eric Sobrowski on Saturday. And
Sobrowski's been great. Like I got to apologize to Rocchio. And then I slept on Sobrowski. That's another swing and miss by me. I got to be honest.
Yeah, Sobrowski's not a guy we saw coming at all. Honestly, like
Every
you
day,
and I talk
Nunzio
about-
can take his victory lap.
Yeah, we will in the off season when this is all over. We will talk. I think we're going to do an episode on our biggest prospect misses. I don't know if I would qualify Sobrowski as biggest yet, but I could tell you coming into the year, I didn't think Sobrowski was a dude at all. Yeah. So, and everyone's available Saturday except for Tanner and Alex Cobb. I mean, everybody's got to wind up being available at some point. Like, you can't let Boyd go too long. You can't. Any sign of trouble, you got to get a fresh reliever in there on Saturday, but everyone's available.
Yeah, and
you got to throw lefties at them.
I agree. When you're looking at this, I told you, it's like I would have almost preferred to go with Walters to Herrin at this point. Like, I love Tim Herrin, and Tim Herrin was fantastic all year, but man, am I so worried about his velocity drops.
I don't think it's even his velocity right now. It's the fact that his command is gone too.
Yeah,
like
it's like
it's one thing to lose your velocity, but the command is just kind of, gone by the wayside too. By the way, David Fry coming into that matchup against Bo Brisky was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. In the moment, Vote said we wanted to go with the right-on-right matchup. David Fry is one of the best baseball players in this league. Can't say enough what he's meant. Personal history. Take your shots. One of our shots worked today. I didn't like that matchup, but again, better to be lucky than good. And
he has always believed in Fry, though. You can say a lot of things about him, but
you can say that.
I mean, he has believed in Fry throughout.
Yeah. Alonzo said, minor league rule 5 pick with a ERA over 4. Hard to not blame you for not seeing anything. Yeah. And this is the guy who minor league rule 5 picks barely ever make it. And this guy's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. And Connor Gillespie ended up pitching some innings for them this year, too. So they had 2 minor league rule 5 guys make their debut this year. And for a team that made the playoffs, that's very unusual. And Sobrowski's on the playoff roster at that. I love Sobrowski's story. I'm really happy for him. We said, someone said they sat next to his dad in the plane in game 1. Seems like a great kid, honestly. And it's a great story. I know he got really emotional.
Worked his tail off to get there.
Yeah. He got really emotional in his interview after his first game out there and was like, it was like almost on the verge of tears at how he got here. And it's so cool to see how much these guys care and to see that kind of story come through. And hopefully he plays a big role.
He was
on
nasty
Saturday
in game 3.
He was
very
nasty
in game 3.
Tigers had 1 run producing hit in 18 innings at Cleveland in this series. Need to bring that game 2 energy and get them back for stealing that one. Yeah, the Tigers got 1 big swing in game 2. So, Jeff, you had said in a text earlier too that the Guardians could have won that game if they just would have gotten a run, and who knows how that changes the game. And they're just going to need to have Manuel Clase be perfect on Saturday. He is in his 2 appearances and his 3 appearances, 2 of them have been not perfect. So
yeah, no. And today I just think it's hard with the 5. Like I'm not going to take much from today.
Yeah, he only gave the 1 hard hit. It's just the Tigers did a good job of putting the ball in play.
They've done a fantastic job about that. The Tigers have done a fantastic job of like like we talk about productive outs. Like Cleveland could have blown it open in the first, but listen, Jose came back and Josh has been fine in the series, but like if they were just a little more productive, you get 2 there. Like you need it, but for whatever reason, Detroit manages to always get the productive out.
They have, and that's a credit to them. They've done every single little thing this series, which is why they're here, which is they're in the first place, and that's why it's now a 5-game series. So, give Detroit a ton of credit. Steven Vogt after the game officially said, "We don't know who's going game 5. They're not going to announce it." I would say for them, wait as long as possible because you want to know what they didn't. Yeah, AJ Hinch didn't tell Cleveland until the last minute that Keter Montero was going to go in game 4. Don't tell them Matt Boyd is going until you're absolutely forced to play the game. And we had a good comment there too, saying chaos in game 5 beat AJ Hinch's own game. Good comment there. All right, we got to get one more break in here, guys, and we will come back to more comments. We'll talk about game 5. We'll talk more about game 4. We'll whatever this direction goes. We're letting kind of the comments dictate it and letting just kind of going on feel. We're going on feel like Steven Vogt. We're going on feel.
So Prize Picks. I've had many opportunities to talk about our fantastic friends at Prize Picks all year long. And Prize Picks is making it easy. And how are they making it easy? Because it's as simple as more or less. You pick a stat category, and then you pick more or less in 2 to 6 stat categories. And they also came up with this idea of flex play, which means that when you don't hit all in the 6, you can still get big payouts. Right now, they're offering weekly promotions that can lead to those big payouts, like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Pick discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. They have things called demons and goblins. Goblins are easier to win, but come with lower multipliers. Demons are a little wild. You can win up to 100 times your money. But best of all, let's talk about money, because right now when you sign up, you get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's $50 for free, right? You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So head over to Prize Picks today, download the app, or go to the website. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a fun one Saturday. First, you can check out the Guardians on your SiriusXM app to listen to all the action. Just search Guardians. I know a lot of people in the comments are saying it's going to rain Saturday. Who knows? Yeah. I'm hoping for a good day Saturday, because Saturday, hopefully if the rain dissipates or whatever, you got Guardians and Tigers, and then you've got Ohio State and Oregon later that night. I will be glued to my TV on Saturday, as I'm always glued to my TV, especially on Saturdays in the fall. Are you okay over there? Okay. Jeff's okay over there. I'm going to say one more thing too.
Wait, real quick. Guys, let me know. It was going through my headphones and not my mic, so I apologize. My sound is going to be off for the first half of the show. So thank you for that heads up.
Did not check his inputs before,
because we had to change it yesterday because there was an issue, and then I didn't change it back. So I apologize.
Check my inputs before we start now.
Is that better, KG? Let me know. Yeah. Did I fix it?
Cleveland's really, really lucky, by the way. Again, they're saying better to be lucky and good in this one. That David Fry hit that home run, because I'm going to go back to why I was not in agreement with their way they rolled things out. Vote waited too long. They don't make 32 ounce cans. I don't know. They might. Not getting Fry in there earlier when they did. Also pinch hitting Noel for Bo Naylor earlier in the game. Pinch hitting for Bo Naylor in this situation just is not good unless you're winning. I don't know. I don't think you can bring Austin Hedges into this game unless you're winning, because then he's got to bat at some point. Like, as soon as they did that, I was like, well, now Hedges has to bat in the 9th. Very lucky that they took the lead when they did, because Hedges came up and Jackson Jobe blew him away. By the way, Jackson Jobe, not great. Again, the Guardians got that crucial run off him. He was not good at Houston. So
yeah, he blew the game in Houston, and then they got lucky.
Yeah,
with the comeback.
And they got lucky. They won in this
one.
Well,
not lucky. They were good before Detroit ran. I mean, they battled, right. And Andy Ibanez can hit what Hader throws. Like, they're a good. Yeah, it was a good matchup. It was a smart play.
Matchup. So I was not super in love with that. I will say this: the benefit of leaving Will Brennan in and letting him face lefties in the whole game was you had him out there for defense, which is really important in Comerica Park, because that outfield's huge. I don't know if Noel makes some of those catches. I know he's been decent in the outfield this series, but Will Brennan is a better defender. And then Brennan, was a couple inches away from a home run in the 9th inning there. I thought he really did it. So I was glad to have Brennan in, even though he meant facing lefties, and he used Noel against Hedges.
Let's be honest, Noel, it's not going well. It's not well for Noel. No. Things sure aren't swell. The baseballs are not.
There's coal in the stocking right now.
Yeah, he hasn't hit a home run since August. Like, no, I feel like we're putting him. Was it in game 3? Like, he hit one that was like a month ago that would have been out. Like, people are gonna be like, "This is just you hating, or you trying to clout chase because we were not as high on him." But to me, it's a situation where he's always gonna have ups and downs, and with that chase rate, and right now it's a down, and you can't. I mean, there's situations where you can play him, but he should be like they did today.
Yes, he's got to be on the bench, and you're just hoping for lightning in a bottle. Yep. Charles Talbert said that squeeze took guts. Yeah, I can't believe David Fry got a bunt down there, and Vogt called it. And before Vogt called it, our friend of the show called it. I was like,
Yeah,
I can't believe that actually happened, and he got it down. Like
that took big marbles.
Yeah. Again, when this is all going to be wild when we get to the end of the season, whenever that is, and they say David Fry is having Tommy John, and they're going to be like, well, look what he did on a bad elbow all year. And I know, Jeff, you're not really a big fan of using injured players, but like at this point, like I don't really know, what else they can do. They have to have the bat in the lineup, and he came through for them. So like he's obviously a huge part of this. The other thing I'm going to say too, before we get to kind of talk about Game 5, we'll get to go a little bit longer because this is a live show, and
100%.
We won't be beholden to time as much. But I was having a conversation with a friend before the game. I saw a really good tweet by somebody in the baseball Twitter sphere that said Phillies fans were mad and said that 95 wins for nothing. And I realized the Phillies. This isn't a Philly show. But the Phillies are going backwards, right? They lost the World Series. That last year they lost in the NLCS. This year they lost in the LDS. That's a really disappointing trend. Absolutely. It's the same thing that happened to Cleveland, World Series, and hadn't won a playoff series until last year, or 2022, I should say. And a lot of Phillies fans said, well, that was 95 wins for nothing. We're going to Game 5, and that's awesome. I just want to say, like, the journey is still important to get here. Like, I understand a lot of people want to win something, and you and I both would love to see this town with a World Series winner too. It'd be great for us. It'd be great for everybody. But I will say this. Yeah, Matt Engel said it's been a fun ride. It has been a fun ride. Like, could you imagine reading a book and just skipping to the last chapter to see how it ends? What would you watch a TV show's final episode just to see how the series ends? Like, no, then you would miss out on all the stuff that leads up to it.
But then it would save you from the Dexter finale and just having us tear a show completely
there's
ruined.
That, or the last season of Game of Thrones, which I've never even seen an episode, but I know it's bad. But you know what I mean? You wouldn't skip to the last episode of the last chapter or the last like half hour of a movie. You would want to see the entire buildup and enjoy different pieces of it, right? Like, I can't imagine watching baseball for 7 months of the year and only caring about the last 2 weeks. Like, I understand the last 2 weeks are the ones that hurt if you don't win the last game of the season, but like, you have to appreciate the journey as well. And I feel like it's just a very sad existence if 2 weeks overwrites your entire 6 months. But I will say, and having that conversation with a friend today, when I saw that we were talking about that tweet, it hit me when we were talking about it. The season could have ended tonight. It could end Saturday. And I was like, a little emotional about it. I was like, I'm not ready for this ride to end. Like, it's been a great season and it's been a lot of fun, and I needed this, and I was just not ready for this then. We've had so much fun this year. And do I think the Guardians are going to win the whole thing? Someone just asked us that. Do I think so? I don't know. I don't. I didn't think they'd be in this spot. I didn't think they'd win 90 something games, but I realized like this is not a season I'm ready to see end. So it like really hit me. This could have been it. So I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah, and at the same time, like, this has been I think, when it all is said and done and it's time for me to shuffle off this mortal coil, this will be like a top 5 season of baseball for my life. Like, it has been a fun team. It's an unbelievable bullpen. Having the number 1 draft pick on top of everything else going on, like, it was just start to finish. There was always something going on. There's always something fun. Some of the breakouts, and also, like I said, the trade deadline, they went out and did some things when some years they've completely stood pat, and then those pieces have paid off. Like, every single thing has gone well, and no matter what happens, like, this has been a fun year. And I hope people will be like, that's, I can't even think of the word I want to say for like, but it, not going all the way with it, but it's one of those things like, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not ready for it to end either, but I am just, you can't measure this journey by the destination. You got to measure it by the journey. And it's been a heck of a journey.
It has been. Yeah. It's just been wild. All the things they've been through, no Shane Bieber, just all the things that happened this year. We didn't expect, Cade Smith. When we talk about biggest misses, I don't think any one of us thought Cade Smith was going to be in this position coming through. We thought he'd be a good reliever. We didn't think he'd be this good. It's just been incredible. The other thing about it too is not wanting this to end is that, next year is a lot of unknowns. Like, there's no guarantee you run it back with the same group and then the same things break this way. Like, those bullpen guys are going to be tired. And I know it's been tough to ride them as much as they've had to at this point, but this is how you're going to win, and this is how you got to do it. I don't know what happens in game 5. Like we started our postseason prep, and I spent a lot of time thinking through like, all right, what do we think the keys are to winning this game or winning that game? And the best part about doing that is they were all wrong. Like, before that we do show planning, because like, I know our friends over at the Salvia's Godcast, they don't do a whole lot of show prep because they just go with it. But when you do a show 5 nights a week, you got to find different topics, different angles. You got to come with something fresh. And so we do a little more prep on that just so we have something, fun and different to talk about each day. And I've tried my best to put together what I think are the keys to each game. And all of them have been wrong, right? I kept saying, like, they got to have a big game from Jose. Well, Jose's had 2 big hits, and thankfully it came in this one and game 1. But he's had 2 big hits. And the only thing I got right is that the bullpen wasn't going to be perfect, and that was an easy one. So, like, all the keys to the game we've come up with, throw them out the window, especially in game 5, right? Like, I think the only thing you can say in game 5, if you want to talk about what are the keys to the game, be lucky. Like, better be lucky than good in game 5. David Fry home run off of, Tarik Skubal, or Tarik Skubal throws a wild pitch and you win 1-0. I don't know. I mean, would you consider an opener, by the way, in front of Matt Boyd just to mess with the Tigers lineup?
Yes. Yeah, I'd consider like Walters to Boyd, because then, there's a chance that when they bring in Boyd, they take out Carpenter. So instead of having there's a world where they do that too quickly, where, if we don't know what's going to happen, that's really the big question, is like, how bad is that knee for Gary Carpenter? Is that going to affect him? I mean, that's the huge hidden unknown, because we talked about like their best hitter is probably Riley Green, and Jose's best is Jose, and I think Jose is right now better than Riley. But our number 2 right now is probably Naylor, and Carpenter is right now better than Naylor. So if you can eliminate their number 2, I think, especially because he hits in their 2 spot, like I think there is a world where you see if you can get them to overreact, right? Like move, because Meadows moves way up and down depending on where he is. Absolutely. Have Andrew Walters as your opener.
So it was a hamstring issue for Kerry Carpenter. AJ Hinch after the game said he's got to get some tests. Anytime a player like that has to leave the game, it's concerning. Holding off any thoughts until the doctors give an update and he gets imaging. So he has to get the hamstring image. So if he can't go on Saturday, that's incredibly massive for Detroit, because they only got one swing that changed the game last time around. They were a little better today. This was the best offensive day for both teams. I know the Guardians scored 7 in the first game and scored 5 runs before an out. But let's be honest, that inning took a little bit of, luck. There were some things that bounced their way in that game, and some things bounced their way in this game, right? Like David Fry off a righty and the bunt, all that kind of stuff. So there's always going to be a degree of luck. But the Tigers, this is the best offensive game for both teams. So who knows what they're going to bring on Saturday? And if Carpenter's not in there, that was the one big swing for this offense in Cleveland last time out. And you may not need to have a cavalcade of lefties. That might mean Carpenter's on the bench for one at bat. Like maybe, I don't want to say this because this is not a good thing to predict, because this is a Detroit thing. If Kerry Carpenter can't go on Saturday, there's a degree of Kirk Gibson there, right? Like he's on the bench, he can't run, he's good for one at bat, and they're hoping he puts one out. Like, I'd rather have him limited to one at bat, and maybe you can get a lefty in there. But I'll take anybody in the Guardians bullpen. I know Klaus taking up the home run the first time. I'll still take anybody in the Guardians bullpen off of against Kerry Carpenter off the bench if you limit him to one at bat. I'll still take that as a win.
Yeah. But if that's the case, like then yeah, definitely go with the right-handed opener, because that one at bat might be the first one, and then you don't have to worry about the rest of the game.
Thanks, Henry. Go Guardians, go! Shout out to I know Henry's. I know everybody here probably isn't every day, or at the most part. Henry's an everyday. I know my buddy Dom's an everydayer. Zeev, all kinds of good everydayers. Michael's in here. We appreciate you guys. Honestly, we didn't even consider doing a live show, and then someone brought it up to Jeff and said we should do it. Yeah, the Walters opener. So shout out to you guys for being here. This is all because of you guys.
Yeah, thank you to all of you. I agree.
Bringing the energy. Yeah. I think Walters as an opener makes a ton of sense. See what they do. See if they put. I mean, Walters. If Kerry Carpenter's good to go, you're still going to face Meadows, Carpenter, and Vierling in the first inning. But then in the second, well, I don't know. Walters is only going an inning, right? Like
Yeah.
the reason I think it worked in the first game for Detroit is because their opener got them through a couple of innings, and then the next time around they were able to bring in a lefty at the top of the order. So Manzardo. Walters can't go two. Who can you open the game? Well, I guess Walters could go two. Didn't Walters go two in the game he opened earlier in the year?
I would have to let me double check it. I mean,
yes, it is fun to celebrate together, Kaylee. Yeah, the energy is awesome. Like this was, like I said, I said on my now, I said, I haven't been like exhausted watching a baseball game in a while. I'm just sitting on my couch and then getting up from my couch and then sitting down and getting up. I got up and down as much as Amanda Class A tonight.
1 2/3 in his start.
So he got 5 outs in his first time out. Oh, that's an interesting idea by Michelle. Cantillo as the opener. That's a lefty right off the bat.
But I want a righty, so there's a chance that Carpenter starts, and then you
want to get a righty.
You really want to go with the righty if you're doing an opener with as good as Boyd was
later in the game. Yeah,
kind of exactly the, and then see if they do the quick change, and then like I said, we're not going to redebate what happened in game 3. We've had enough about that, but like there is an advantage once you do those pinch hitting moves early, because then everything's set in stone and you can kind of plan a little better. You don't have to worry about the back and forth of it.
There is the Gavin Williams.
You don't have to apologize, Michelle. Don't apologize.
No. I thought it was a good idea. I think Cantillo has to be available on Saturday for sure.
Yes,
especially with the issues with Tim Herrin. Jason had a good idea with Gavin Williams. I think there's your actual natural opener, right? It's not Walters, it's Gavin Williams. If Gavin Williams can somehow get you 9 outs and you turn it over to Matthew Boyd for, I don't know, 9 more.
Speaks volumes that he has not appeared or done anything so far in terms of their trust level in him.
It is very weird. We thought game 3 was going to be the game we saw him, and then things kind of went off the rails a little bit, I guess.
I mean, even in this one, they kind of needed someone like that. Like Gaddis and Clase had to go too far and they had to throw out Herrin in spite of his issue. Like this was the game to use Gavin. Like they needed Gavin tonight, and they still didn't go to him.
Yeah, well, it takes big eggs to not do it. But I think part of it, not throwing Gavin in game 4, was having him available for game 5, which it's always a very, very risky move to say in a do or die game where your season's on the line, we're not going to go to this guy tonight so we can have him in a game 5, in a game that may not happen. But he did. I think you have to. No, Gavin did face Detroit. Gavin's got really good numbers against Detroit. One of our everydayers gave us to that earlier in the week.
Yeah.
I think he has to pitch in game 5. I know you're right. It speaks volumes that he has not been in the game against them, but I don't know how you can avoid using him. Like, you've got to be careful. Like, you want to get in game 5. I know you want to have your best pitchers get the most outs, right? Like, Matthew Boyd factors in no matter what. I feel like maybe Matthew Boyd goes 1 time to the order. Gavin Williams goes 1 time to the order. I think you have to do it because if you're gonna lean on Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis in this game, in game 5, to win this, or to keep it close enough for your offense to do something late after Skubal's out of the game, hopefully, I don't know if you can push Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis in game 5 the way you did in game 4. So when they do come into the game, I think you want to make sure that they're only pitching at their like optimal levels, because Hunter Gaddis threw 32 pitches. That's not as a reliever. Now, I know he was a starter at one time, but as a reliever, he has not been pushed that far, and it's very hard to do. So I think you want those guys working at the most optimal levels you can. And that means not forcing them to go 6 outs, right? Let them get 4 or 5 hitters and pull them when you have to, instead of trying to stretch to get to the end of the game. And that's why I think no matter what, like Walters for sure, Sobrowski for sure, and that's why I think Williams factors in. So you're not pushing those relievers to the brink where they might get tired and make a mistake.
Yeah, I think it is. You always want to optimize it, like 100%. And that's as much as we talked about, like how you can weaponize the bullpen. There's that part of me that never really loved the idea, because it's like even today, like Cade Smith was mortal, right? And then Hunter Gaddis, got touched up a little as well. In an ideal world, these guys are only getting 3 outs because that is how they are going to be at peak performance, and that is maybe why you go deep. But are we worried that, I guess there's maybe a point where you say, hey, Matt Boyd was great the last time, but you and I are like, he's not, while they don't hit lefties well, his pitch mix was not necessarily one that Detroit struggles with. So maybe there's a world where you don't want him to face twice and you set him up and you do lean into a Gavin, or you figure out how you're going to balance it. But I could also see like Walters for like 5 outs, then Boyd for 5 outs, and then you could go Gavin for like 10 to 12. And completely, if they have then done any any changes when you went through with that could change it.
Yeah, good comment, Bryson. I don't know. Everyone's I mean, if David Fry and if Jose Ramirez was due, if David Fry was due to do anything off a right-hander, especially Bo Brisky of all people, maybe Skubal is due for a bad start. I don't know. All it takes is one mistake. Like that's the other thing. If they lost this game, I had a bunch of notes throughout the game. I've been taking notes every inning watching this game, or watching all the games. And my comments early in the game were, it was a lot of singles, right? It was a Steven Kwan single. It was a Brayan Rocchio, then a Steven Kwan single, or it was a Kyle Manzardo single, and then Lane Thomas singled. And I was like, man, they're scoring a lot of runs early or they're getting a lot of hits early with single and single. And that's such a hard way to play in the postseason. It gets so hard, and it's going to be hard against Tarik Skubal to string those hits together. They did it earlier in the year, right? They had 10 hits off him, right, Jeff?
Yes, they had 10 hits in the start in July, right?
And they had how many hits off him in game 2?
Not that many.
Yeah,
but
not that many.
But again, it comes down to the situation with wasn't it Fry in the double play? Like, and
yeah,
they
had chances.
And there's still that thing where I know people want to talk about. I loved, again, to go back to the squeeze, the ballsiness on that, because this team's been like afraid to run all series.
Yeah, really,
how good Rogers is, and it's like, I mean, today there was ups and downs, but you can still see, like, this is why I still believe in vote. It's like the ability and the willingness to play, to take those gambles, to lean into opportunities, and to not be afraid to take a chance is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not. Kwan did have a steal. He's still third in this game off Rogers, so
wasn't that like
steal.
Yeah, was that Manzardo didn't advance and they had the 2 guys on and they didn't want to risk it, right? It was kind of okay, go ahead and take it.
Well, that was how Kwan scored in the first inning, I think, because he was at third base and Thomas singled him in. So yeah, it's so hard to string hits together. And I just kept thinking about the offense. Like, they scored in the first inning, that was great, and it's like, it's just so hard to string single after single together. That's why when you get a single, it's like, okay, you got to run around, you got to work a walk, and then you got to try to have someone come through with a big home run. And that's what Fry was able to do, thankfully. But it's like, you can't just expect to score, because it takes 3 singles to score. 2 singles, like, unless you steal a base or you ground out and avoid a double play. Like, it's hard to do that without making an out. So that's why you need the big blow. I wonder who's available for everybody. I imagine everyone except for Reese Olson is available for the Tigers on Saturday. Obviously, they're hoping they don't need to go to really anybody except for Skubal and Vest. Like, I think that's their plan.
Yeah, again. I mean, and they also, did some damage against Vest in this one, so that's a positive sign.
Yeah. A lot of people are very upset with Andres Jimenez in the comments. I agree with that.
But he also had some nice plays defensively.
He did. And this is a good point by Richie and a couple of people too. I've also said this in the comments, that if you replace Jimenez with a pinch hitter, you lose the defense. And I don't know who else has played second this year. Arias?
I mean, probably Schneemann at some point.
Maybe. You can't start Schneemann, I guess. You can't start Schneemann either against
and
Skubal,
Schneemann wasn't hitting in the second half either.
And Jimenez also, I mean, Jimenez, I know, is better against lefties than Schneemann. So You can't do it, and you lose the defense. You just can't do it.
No.
And Jimenez, that's a good point. Jimenez should have had an RBI in the ninth. That was a great play by Colt Keith. Someone in the comment did say it was Colt Keith who had to play at second. So Jimenez was very close to driving in a 6th run today. So let's hope he comes out of it. They had a lot of good at bats in this game. Josh did have a hit, but he struggled a lot.
Yeah.
Will Brennan had some good at bats. Bo Naylor has had some good at bats in this postseason, but he hasn't come through with anything. At some point in this series, though, everybody's had a decent at bat, so I at least feel encouraged about that.
I just wish we saw a little bit more from Josh. I know he had the hit in game 1, but he's also, that in the first inning he had maybe the worst at bat of the game for Cleveland. There's just those points where it looks like he's pressing. Yeah,
that's a great point by Ben too, and I know Rocchio talked about this before Game 4 on Thursday. He was talking about how much he learned from playing in the Venezuelan Winter League, and he won a championship there, I believe.
It's a big deal to win there. People don't understand sometimes how big of a deal it is.
I talked to a bunch of years back. This is going way back. I'll tell you how long we've been doing this. I talked to Anthony Gallus years ago about him playing in winter ball and just that experience.
Kent State, great.
Yeah. Anthony Gallus was one of the guys I learned a lot from talking to and also just evaluating prospects. But I asked him about his winter ball experience, and he said it's a serious deal down there. Like, if you play bad, your home fans boo you and you get benched, and teams will. It's a short season. Obviously, it's not as long as the regular major league season. But he said if you play bad, your fans boo you, you get benched, and the team might release you during the season. Like, it's a very harsh environment in winter ball, especially if you're not. Well, it's the same for countrymen, and it's the same for foreign-born players. Like, they are harsh. So
no,
that's a very tough environment to win.
They don't truck there.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, yeah. I don't know how much longer we let this go. This is, we're going to have to send this out.
At what point are we going to get in trouble?
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, I think this is one of those things where I don't think the network's going to care. I think they'll be like, yeah, you're streaming. It's after a big win. Run with it. They always say, own the moment. Yeah. That's what they tell us. Own the moment. We are owning the moment.
Someone said, how did Hedges hit against Skubal this year? Would you start him again or not? Hedges does have like 3 hits and like 9 at bats against Skubal this year. It's by no means meaningful to go off of, but I would rather have Hedges start and bring in Bo late. I know Hedges for defense, but like that way you're not forcing Bo to face Skubal, and that way if you come into a big spot against the reliever, it's not Hedges versus like Will Vest, right? I'd rather take my chances of Bo Naylor versus Will Vest late in the game than Hedges, right?
Yeah. There's part of me that just says if you put him in, then you just leave him in. Like, because by the time you get to the end of the game,
let the score dictate it.
Let the score
3
dictate.
3 for 10. Yeah, 3 for 10 off
he's still the better defender.
Yeah. I know people are talking about rain on Saturday. Rain on Saturday would be, I feel like that'd almost be good for Cleveland, right? The last time people were saying rain delays are bad. I feel like for Cleveland, that gives you 2 days of rest for your bullpen. The Tigers are still going to go with Skubal, but that gives you 2 days of rest for this bullpen, and you can lean even heavier. And then, well, Cobb's not. I was going to say you could use Cobb, but Cobb's not coming out of that pen. So I don't know.
No.
Someone said also managing the pitchers. I would start Hedges actually because it's a lefty, and you might have a very chaotic pitching plan for that game. And again, if I know people have been saying Bo has not been very good offensively this year. He's been awful, and we'll talk about that after the season. But I'm still gonna say, like, if it comes to the 8th or 9th inning and you have a chance to pinch hit Bo versus Will Vest, I would much rather do that than watch Hedges against him.
Yeah,
what do we call that? I guess if Hedges is an F as a hitter, we always talk about F's to C's. I don't think Bo Naylor at this point we can call him a C as a hitter because he struggled so much. But
it's an
F to a D.
it's a 0 to a
1.
50. It's like Hedges is bad, but at the same time, that dude, the knowledge in his brain, I think there's an added comfortability with him and some of the guys. I think there's a lot of those components that are, really interesting to look at. And yeah, I mean, I think like Hedges helps Class A too. Like, I think that there is a benefit there.
Henry makes a good point. We talked about this on Thursday's show. If David Fry's healthy, he's probably catching against a lefty.
Yes.
And then Hedges comes in late for defense and use Bo. And that was the plan most of the season. Or he's playing right field. I don't know. Like, it just stinks the injury. But hey, at this point, though, you have to say, thank God he's on the roster, because you would not be playing Game 5 without him.
I got to throw this out there because this is something we talked about some last year. I don't know if I didn't see this earlier today. How about we talk about overreactions, not overreactions? Oh, man, the Braves. Let's talk about overreacting to an injury-filled season.
They fired one of your guys, man.
They did. They fired Bobby Magalinas and Kevin Seitzer. They fired, after having the best offense and then everyone getting hurt. And then
you wanted Magalinas as the Guardians manager.
Yeah, I did. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I at least have to mention that after I thought he was the sleeper candidate for the manager. But yeah, I mean, that Braves team had more injuries than anyone else. That seems like the ultimate knee jerk.
Well, if the Guardians do win on Saturday, they will be facing the New York Yankees, who just beat the Kansas City Royals 3-1. So Saturday, you get to play the Yankees, no matter who wins.
Here is my controversial take. Everyone ready for this? I would rather face the Yankees than the Royals, because the Royals pitching is better and Cleveland's offense is so bad. The Yankees offense is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but
it's 3 guys.
It is. And the Royals, like Ursig, I know Cleveland was able to get to him this year, but like Braggins, right now, Braggins and Lugo are better than anyone the Yankees have. Cole, we haven't seen enough to know, is he all the way back yet? Like,
he pitched really good on Thursday night.
Okay, so it's like, I mean, and then the bullpens. I mean, the Yankees had to move Clay Holmes led the league in blown saves this year. There's a lot of things going on with that team.
This is a good point. If Cleveland, whoever wins, no matter who wins Saturday, Cleveland or Detroit, Monday they're playing the Yankees at 8:00 at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
So primetime game on Monday. All right, Jeff, any final thoughts? We should probably wrap it up here, guys. Again, thank you guys so much. Michael, Henry, Zeev,
we have
Arthur,
200
Michelle,
people.
Matt, Don.
This is an underrated point about, like, they should try to probably avoid those two being at the same time.
Please. I want to watch the Guardians win, and I want to go out and watch Ohio State celebrating that win, and then whatever Ohio State does. I don't know who I have more confidence in Saturday, Ohio State or Ryan Day does not win the big game. This is not an Ohio State podcast, but Ryan Day does not win the big game. No, we do not play at 8:00 Saturday. I'm pretty sure that game is already set at 4:30 no matter what, because of college football schedule. So I'm pretty sure that game is set in stone at 4:30. I hope it's not 8:00 because I cannot. Oh God, someone said they flex back if the Yankees win. I can't handle watching the Guardians and Ohio State at the same time. I just can't. I don't know if I can do it. Oof.
Lucky for me, I don't watch any other sports outside of baseball and hockey. Those are pretty much it for me anymore. So it doesn't affect, no skin off my back. It's saying 4:38 right now on the MLB website.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone has said there's a lot of, Zach just announced that it will be 8:00. Oh, okay. Man. I gotta watch Ohio State and the Guardians at the same time Saturday. I am.
My daughter's going to be trying to say, "Can we watch this one?" I let her stay up to watch this game with me, and luckily she fell asleep 10 minutes after it ended. But if Saturday night, I could already see this is going to get me in trouble.
I'm not ready. I'm going to need so much sleep Friday because I'm not ready. Ohio State's 7:30 and Guardians are at 8, so yeah, I'm just not ready for those at the same time. All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys for coming on and doing this and bringing the energy and pushing us to do this. We had a lot of fun. I hope
if you're going to be a yerk, then you get banned and comments get removed.
Yeah.
Listen, I if Cleveland loses, honestly, I'm going to root for the Tigers the rest of the way. But Tigers fans are really kind of yerks in our like more than any fan base in the entire course of the year. So there's tons of great Tigers people. We love Rogelio and Chris, and I got lots of family Tigers fans. But it's been weird. Tigers fans, stop being weird. Stop being like certain politicians. Stop being weird.
Yeah. Oh boy. We'll see you guys on Monday. Recapping Game 5 and previewing the ALCS. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll definitely have things to talk about. That's for sure. One way or another, it's going to be a lot to talk about. But we want to thank you all. It's been fantastic support over this past
you
week.
guys are the best.
So, and no matter what happens, we're going to keep bringing it all off season. If you went with us, that's what we do. So, we just thank you all for joining us. I appreciate each and every one of you.
Yes. Appreciate all the support. Do it one more time, Jeff. One more time.
I didn't bring up the thing on the side yet. I got to do that. So again, remember, rate and review, smash that thumbs up, hit like, you know what you need to do. Let's make this as great a podcast as possible. Thank you, and go Guardians, go.
Let's go.